So the tooth has a part which is out of the gum. The gum in anatomy is called gingiva, right? So what you have here in orange is gingiva, is the gum. So the part of the tooth which is out of the gum or gingiva is called the crown, right? The crown is the part of the tooth that we can see. I never forget about the tooth because I broke it once with something hard that I chewed on, and I had to pay $500 out of my pocket. So I never forget this guy. It's important. And to prevent that breakage, the crown, which is all the way here, is covered by this white substance that we call it enamel. Enamel is the hardest substance in your body. It's even harder than the bones, right? So it covers and tries to protect the crown. And then deep to it, what are those? Oh, you want to put, I thought it's related to our class. The corms? No, that's for genetics. And then deep to it, this is the green part here is called the dentin. So dentin, all the way here, it also goes into the root. Root is a part of the tooth which goes deep into here. So whatever you see under the gum here is the root. Whatever is on the top of it is the crown. And then dentin continues here. So the dentin, the greenish substance here, as you can see, makes most of the tooth, right? That's why that the dentists are called dentists, because they're the doctors that work on the dentin most of the time, right? And deep to the dentins, you see those blood vessels here? This is what we call the pulp. Pulp is the alive part of the tooth. It has the blood vessels, it has the nerves, right? The pulp is located inside the cavity, which is called the pulp cavity. And then the pulp continues into the root. When it goes into the root, it makes the line in here that we call it the root canal. I'm sure that you have heard about the procedure. I didn't like it. The procedure of the root canal is that, do you know what they do?
They drill.
They tape. So when the cavity becomes really large and it gets deep into the pulp, there is no other way that they can fix it but getting the nerves and the blood vessel out of here, what we call the root canal. So when they do that, I learned it from my dentist that when they do that, the tooth is actually dead, right? But the reason that we do this is that we use that the skeleton of the tooth, so they put the extra crown on it to make it stronger, and then they still use that tooth for chewing while the tooth is dead and the nerves and the blood vessels are out. So that's the root canal in here. For the root, which is the part of the tooth which is inside, we do not have the enamel. Instead, we have the other hard substance which is called the cementum. Do you see that white line which goes around the root? This is the cementum. Okay? Let me see what... Yeah, periodontal ligaments is on the list as well. So those white lines that you can see in the pink, those are the structures that we call them periodontal ligaments. The periodontal ligaments, those fine lines in white, they keep the tooth in its place, right? Fix it in the place inside the bone. So for the tooth, we want to know the part which is out is the crown. The part which goes inside the gum and inside the bone is called the root. The neck would be somewhere here, right? Or here. That shows you where the crown and the root connect together. From here, you can see that the root starts. So this is considered the neck. Okay? So on the list, you have crown, neck, root, gingiva, or gums that I showed you. Root canal, pulp cavity, periodontal ligament, cementum, I showed you. Very good. So the total number of the teeth in the adult, you told me that it's the 32. Name and the numbers on each jaw, I can show you, and it's easy, right? So upper jaw, lower jaw would be the same. So if you look at half of each jaw, right? So if you look at the half of it, here you can see the canine, right? Which is the pointy one, okay? The two between the canine, these two are called the incisors, right? So these two are incisors, And then in order, if you go in order, 1, 2 incisors, and then you see the canine, right? And then you see the 2 smaller ones that we call them premolars, and then you can see larger ones that we call them molars. So if you want to calculate for the entire jaw, what Dr. Raji asked you, you make those numbers double, right? But in each half of the jaw in order, you have 2 incisors, 1 canine, 2 premolars, 3 molars. Makes sense? So what I mentioned in the class about being vegetarian or not being vegetarian, you know that there are always discussions and people have different ideas. We respect all of them. But if you want to know my opinion, is that look at your teeth. The teeth tell you what your body needs, right? So we still have the canines, and canines are the teeth that we use for tearing on the meat. But look at the numbers here. We have 2 of the canines in this jaw, while we have 6 of the molars and 4 of the premolars. So molars and premolars are the teeth that we are using for grinding the vegetables, right? So it tells you that we need the vegetable. Even the number tells you how much. So the healthy diet for the human as the adult would be a little bit of the meat, a lot of the vegetables, right? So if you have the combination, to me, is the good combination to provide all the nutrients that you want for your body. Any question about the teeth and the tooth model? If you need me to show you anything again, you couldn't see that well, let me know. I will show you again. So, this is the mouth. We talked about it, which is one of the main organs. So the main organs, one more time, from top to the bottom are mouth or oral cavity, and then pharynx. Which parts of the pharynx? Oropharynx, laryngopharynx. From there, the food goes into the esophagus. From the esophagus to the stomach, into the small intestine and large intestine. These are the main organs. The rest of the organs are called accessory organs. Doesn't mean they are not important, but they are not just receiving the food directly, right? But they help a lot. The accessory organs are teeth. We just talked about them. And the next ones are the salivary glands. Salivary glands make what for us? Saliva. They make the saliva. What's the advantage of having the saliva? So it has some enzymes like amylase. That's the enzyme that we need for the digestion of the carbs. Beside that,
mechanical ingestion and
yes. So it softens the food
and enabling easier
to swallow. Exactly. So it softens the food when if the food gets, at first when we eat it and we chew it with the teeth as a mechanical digestion, right? Then it gets mixed with the saliva and it softens and converts to what we call the bolus. The bolus is kind of round things that now we can swallow. But before chewing and before getting mixed with the saliva, we cannot swallow it. Besides that, it has some proteins that kills the microbes. Besides, it has some enzymes that help us for the digestion. So all of those together. Salivary glands are the glands that sends the saliva into the oral cavity, into the mouth, right? We have 3 types of them that you can see. The largest one is called the parotid salivary gland, is this one. On this model is number 7. So number 7, and to the camera, this is the parotid gland, okay, which is located anterior to the ear. There is another one here that we call it sublingual. Sub means what? Under. Lingual is talking about what? The tongue. So it's under the tongue, right? Sublingual, number 11. And then number 9 is under the mandible. The mandible is cut here to show you this gland, this salivary gland. Submandibular, the name is telling you that it's under the mandible. If you look at them closely, those green structures show you the ducts. These glands are the exocrine glands, right? So they make the saliva, and then they send the saliva into the oral cavity through those ducts. So all of those greenish structures are the ducts of those salivary glands. But what Dr. Raju wants you to know, there are the types of those glands. Parotid gland, sublingual gland, submandibular gland. I'm going to show you the slide of the salivary gland as well. It's on the list. Good? So, for the esophagus, you can hold it, are you sure? It's heavy. Thank you so much. So, here we can see the next main organ. So, the food passes through the oral cavity, oropharynx, laryngopharynx, and goes into the esophagus. Esophagus is the muscular tube that has just one function. It's swallowing. It takes, then you cannot see it. That's okay.
I can listen.
Okay. So the food goes down the esophagus, right? So esophagus has two sphincters. A sphincter is the term that you will hear in the digestive system a lot. Sphincter like this muscular gate. Okay, so it opens, closes, allows or doesn't allow the substances to pass. The important sphincter that we have here, you can see it here, is called the gastro. Gastro is talking about what? You have to know it from blood vessels, stomach, right? Gastroesophageal sphincter. Whenever you get tired, just put it down. Gastroesophageal sphincter is the important gate in here. What's the function of it? Can you guess? So when the stomach is digesting the food, right, and has a hydrochloric acid, remember we talked about it in the it's very strong acid. You don't want it to get back to the esophagus. Esophagus is not ready for it. It will get burned. So gastroesophageal sphincter here closes when the stomach is digesting the food to prevent the backflow into the stomach, right? So esophagus is in here. Dr. Raju doesn't talk about the gastroesophageal. I showed you, but it's not on the list. So just for information or for the lecture later, you can use it. And then the food gets into the stomach. Stomach is like the J-shaped expansion that you have in the digestive system. First of all, is the storage for the food. So the food stays inside the stomach for a while, depending on what you have been eating. If you get a lot of protein and fat in your food, like the big steak and the fries and those things, you have experienced when you go to the restaurant and you eat a big food, you feel full for a long time, right? Because that meat and fat and things stay inside the stomach for the long time. But when you get on the diet and you eat just salad, half an hour later you're hungry again, right? Because those substances will pass very quickly. Anyways, it will store the food in here. And then also it's responsible for the mechanical digestion, which is the movement in the wall of the stomach, and also chemical digestion. In the secretion here in the stomach that we call it gastric juice, you have hydrochloric acid, very strong acid. You have the enzymes. You will learn about the names of the enzymes later. So they digest the food which is inside the stomach. Makes sense. And from the stomach here, we get to the small intestine. The small intestine has three major parts, so I want to remove this one, sorry. The duodenum is the first part of the small intestine here. It goes like letter C, right? This is the duodenum. And it receives the head of the pancreas here, okay? So if you cannot see it, I'll show you later. You can come to me, I'll show you. So this is the duodenum. And then the small intestine consists of the part on the top. The second part of it is called jejunum. So where it says number 20, I cannot see that number. It says letter E, I believe. This area in general on the top is called the jejunum. And this area is called the ileum. It says number 28 on it. Okay? So you can say that the small intestine has three major sections. The first part of it, which is the shortest part, is called duodenum. Okay? The second part has a medium length, is called the jejunum. The last part, which is the longest part here, is called the ileum. Makes sense? Okay, and then we get to the large intestine. About the function, you will see in the lecture that the most important function of the small intestine is to finish the chemical digestion, and also absorption of the substances. Absorption means what? The substances, yes, will pass through the wall of the small intestine and they go to the blood or lymph. Then we get to the large intestine. So large intestine, like a frame. Okay, like a frame goes around the small intestine. In daily conversation, we call it colon, but it's not very precise because colon is just a part of the large intestine. The large intestine starts with the area here. It says number 29 here. That is called the cecum. Hanging from the cecum, number 31 here, is the appendix. Appendix is also a part of the immunity system. You have the soldiers in here to kill the germs. And then we get to the colon. The colon has a part which is going up. Number 32 here is called ascending colon until it gets to the liver. When it gets to the liver, it turns and becomes horizontal, and we call it transverse colon. Here it gets to the spleen. It doesn't show the spleen, but the spleen is here. When it gets to the spleen, it turns down, number 34, and we call it descending colon, which is going down. The last part of the colon, number 35, is called the sigmoid colon, which will end into the rectum and anal canal, and then you see the anus. So the parts of the large intestine are cecum, ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, sigmoid colon, rectum, and anal canal. Okay? So let me see what else Dr. Raja wants you to know. So on this model, also you can see the pancreas. So here, this guy here in orange. So this is the pancreas. Pancreas is one of the accessory organs. Pancreas has a very important function. It makes the chemical enzymes that we need for the digestion in the small intestine. It comes from the pancreas. Okay? And then, I'm sorry?
Primarily secretes the duodenum, the
Yes, it sends the what we call the pancreatic juice into the duodenum, and that's where we need those pancreatic juice, the enzymes. Then we have the liver and the gallbladder. So the entire organ here is the liver. Liver is the accessory organ, but it's a very important organ. We cannot survive without the liver. We can survive without the pancreas, but we cannot survive without the liver. In the lecture, you will learn about this important function. That's why that makes it. We need at least a section of it to survive. So then attached to the liver here, this is the gallbladder. Gallbladder is the accessory organ which has just one function. It stores what we call the bile. Bile is the substance what we need for the digestion of the lipids. You will see that in the lecture. And then the greater omentum, guys, is like the layer of the peritoneum that you can see on this model. That's where I show it. You can double check with Dr. Raji. That is where she wants to ask you. The yellow one here, this is called the greater omentum. Greater omentum is the layer of the peritoneum. Remember peritoneum, the serous membrane? That is filled with the fat. That's why that is yellow, right? And the people that have the big bellies, they have a lot of fat in here, right? It has a function. So that lipid provides the cushioning for these organs, right? So like the apron, it comes and completely covers the small intestine and parts of the large intestine, and that's what we call the greater omentum. There is a smaller one between the stomach and the liver. We call it lesser, but it's not on the list, and it's not shown on the model. Then on this model again, Dr. Raji wants to show you those folds. Do you see it says letter D on it? All of those folds, do you see them? We call them rugae. Rugae are the mucous folds that provide the space that we need for the expansion, which means that when the stomach gets full, the rugae disappear. So in the organs that you need the expansions, you will see that later in the urinary bladder, in the vagina, we have the rugae to provide the space that we need for the expansion here, okay? And then we have the lower esophageal sphincter or gastroesophageal. I just showed you is this one. Gastroesophageal or lower, because there's one on the top that we call it upper. So important function is the gate between the stomach and the esophagus. Then you have the parts of the stomach which are important. The part of the stomach which is just next to the sphincter here. This is called the cardiac region or cardia. Okay? And then you're right, there is the dome-shaped area on the top. This is called fundus. The main part of the stomach between my fingers, this is the body. Okay? Body has two curves. The larger curve here is called the greater curvature. The smaller curve is called the lesser curvature. And then the stomach gets narrower. When it gets narrower, we call it pylorus. Okay, so this is the pylorus. That's the narrower part of the stomach. At the end of the pylorus, since it's called pylorus, you see there's another gate in here, another sphincter. We call it pyloric sphincter. Pyloric sphincter is the gate between the stomach and the duodenum, which is the first part of the small intestine. Make sense? All right. So histology of the organs of the digestive system. I will show you the organs later. But the histology, the important part of the histology is about the 4 layers that we have in the main organs. So if you think about the esophagus, stomach, small intestine, and large intestine, in all of them, we have, when we put the organ under the microscope, we have 4 layers. From inside to the outside, from various lumen. Do you guys know the meaning of lumen? Opening. It's the opening, it's the space in the center. So from the lumen to the outside, there are 4 major layers that I show you on this model. I don't know if Dr. Raju wants you guys, I show it to my students, double check with her, but I show you here just in case. The innermost layer between my fingers from here to here is called the mucosa. Mucosa is the innermost layer that is just next to the lumen. Okay? And then, do you see that lighter area here? This is called submucosa. Submucosa means what? Is under the mucosa, beneath the mucosa is this guy, is this one. The whitish layer here is the submucosa. And then there is the layer of the muscles here that we call it muscularis. If you want to be precise, external muscularis. The muscularis layer in all of the organs consists of 2 layers except the stomach. In the stomach, we have 3 layers because the movement in the stomach is very important, right? In the other organs that we have 2 layers, there are 2 of them. Always the inner one is the circular layer. Always the outer one is the longitudinal layer, okay? And then the outermost layer that we can see on this model is called the serosa. Serosa is the same as the visceral peritoneum, right? That is the outermost one. Yes, please. Circular layer is that about that muscle fibers go into the circular form, while the longitudinal go horizontally. So, one more time, the layers from inside to the outside that you can see in the wall of the digestive system are mucosa, submucosa, muscularis. How many layers of the muscularis? Muscularis external, muscularis 2 or 3. If it's in the esophagus, the small intestine, large intestine is 2. If it's in the stomach, 3, right? And then you have the serosa, which is the outermost layer. This is the slide of the, this is the model of the stomach. It shows you the histology of the stomach that you can see here. And the story for the layers is the same, which means that all the way here, this layer, this is the lumen, okay? So all the way here, this layer is the mucosa. You can tell, right? And then this layer is submucosa. And all the way here, this is the muscularis, external muscularis. But look at here, how many layers do you have? 3. Stomach is the only one that has 3 layers. And then from inside to the outside, the layers are oblique. If you look closer later, you can see the direction of the muscle fiber is oblique. The middle layer is circular, and the outer layer is longitudinal. So oblique, circular, longitudinal, right? And this would be cirrhosis. All right, so the other thing that I want you guys to see here in the mucosa are the gastric glands. So those glands, so they start from here and then they go deep to here. All the area here shows you the gastric glands. There are different types of the cells here that are not on the list. So probably Dr. Raju doesn't want to ask you, but double check with her. I will ask my students for parietal cells, mucous neck cells, chief cells, but they are not. I don't see them on the list. So, but still double check with Dr. Raji. If she wants them, she will show you. But what is on the list is that those are the gastric glands. Okay, and then do you see that there are spaces in between the glands here? Do you see those? These are called the gastric pits. So gastric pits are the spaces in between the gastric glands. Okay. So, I want to give you guys a few minutes, especially because you didn't have the lecture. It's really hard because I'm just attacking you with a lot of information. I put this list in here for you. I'm up to the hepatopancreatic ampulla opening, up to here. So up to here, go over the models on your own and make sure that you can find those structures. If you have any hard time finding any of those, let me know, and then I will continue. The liver is the second largest organ in your body. Which organ is the skin is the largest? This is the second largest organ. This is the largest gland in your body. Do you know where it's located when you think about the quadrants? Upper right quadrant, right? Under the diaphragm, upper right quadrant is the liver. You will learn about the functions of it in the lecture. This is not the thing that I want to tell you here. We don't have time for it. But the liver consists of the sections that we call them lobes. Okay, so the largest lobe of the liver that you can see here is called the right lobe. This is the right lobe. The second largest one here is called the left lobe. Okay, so right lobe, left lobe. Between the right lobe and the left lobe, do you see those white lines? This is the fold of the peritoneum that we call it falciform ligament. The name is on the list. Falciform ligament is the ligament, which is not the bone-to-bone ligament, but it's like the structure that we call it ligament between the right lobe and the left lobe. When you look at the posterior and inferior surface of the liver, where you have the gallbladder, you can see that we have 2 more lobes, okay? One lobe here is just next to the gallbladder here, this one. This is called the quadrate lobe, okay? So we call this quadrate lobe. It's just next to the gallbladder. There is another one just next to the blue one. The blue one is inferior vena cava. So just next to it, this lobe is called caudate lobe. See that? So how many lobes do we have in the liver? 4. Which one is the largest one? This is the right lobe. The second largest one? Left lobe. And then we have 2 lobes in here. The one just next to the gallbladder is called quadrate lobe. The lobe just next to the inferior vena cava is called caudate lobe. All right. On this model, I want to show you guys the systems that we have for the ducts, which is important. This is on the list on the for Dr. Raja. I'm sure that she wants you to know that, but I don't know how to put it so you can take it because the ducts are here and they are small. So one of the functions of the liver, guys, is making the bile, okay? Bile is the chemical substance that we need to digest the lipids. So do you see that there are 2 lines in here? two smallest one. These two are called the left and right hepatic ducts. Okay, hepatic ducts takes the bile from the liver. They join versus number 49. Right and left hepatic ducts join to make the common hepatic duct. Makes sense, right? Left and right join, they make common hepatic duct. Number 48 shows you the duct which is coming out from the gallbladder. We call it cystic duct. So what's the name of the duct that comes out from the gallbladder? Cystic duct. Cystic duct and common hepatic duct join together to make another one, number 50, which is called the common bile duct because it's carrying the bile all the way to here. Do you see the green one here? This is the common bile duct. That's the continuation that opens into the duodenum. So it brings the bile into the duodenum. The system of ducts here, one more time. Left and right hepatic ducts, common hepatic duct. Joins who? Who is this? Cystic duct. When they are joined, common hepatic duct and cystic duct, they make what? Common bile duct that comes all the way down and opens up into the duodenum. Thank you. So on this model also, which shows you the duodenum, this is duodenum again, the first part and the shortest part. And look at the green one on the back. Who is this? Common bile duct. The gallbladder is here, is attached to the liver, right? So this is the common bile duct, which is coming down here. You see that? And here it opens into the duodenum. When it opens into the duodenum, we call it hepatum is what? Liver. It comes from the liver. Hepatopancreatic, because the duct from the pancreas also will join it. Hepatopancreatic ampulla. That's the opening for the common bile duct, which joins the pancreatic duct here, and they open together here inside the duodenum. All right. So I've covered hepatopancreatic ampulla. Pancreas is this guy. Pancreas is the accessory organ, but it's very important because it makes the chemical enzymes that we need for the digestion in the small intestine. So it's called the pancreatic juice. Pancreatic juice goes into the main duct in here, okay, which is called the main pancreatic duct. On the list, Dr. Rogers says pancreatic duct, so you can go with it. Pancreatic duct is the duct inside the pancreas. It joins the common bile duct, and together they open into the duodenum. Okay. Then common bile duct I showed you. Jejunum I showed you. Right lobe, left lobe, quadrate lobe, caudate lobe, common hepatic duct, gallbladder, cystic duct, falciform ligament. I've shown you everything on here. Cecum and appendix I showed you. Ileocecal sphincter I didn't. See that? It's called ileo. It's talking about what? Ileum. Ileocecal is talking about cecum. So it's the sphincter here, number 33, that actually connects the ileum, which is the last part of the small intestine, to cecum, which is the first part of the large intestine. Okay? Ileocecal sphincter is here. And the other thing that I want you guys to see on this model is that there is a group of the muscles. Do you see that white line goes all the way here? Those are the muscles that are called tenia coli or tenia coli, right? When they contract, they move the feces inside the large intestine. So when they contract, they make the pouches. Do you see those sections, those pouches here? Each of them is called the hostrum. The plural form is hostra. So it makes the hostra, and as those muscles contract, the feces moves from one hostrum to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. Okay? So tenia coli and the hostra, each of them is called the hostrum. Okay, it says that know the pathway of the bile secretion from the liver to the duodenum. I just told you. I don't know if she wants you to know those, to identify those ducts. Ask her. Well, I ask my students to know, but I already told you the pathway, right? left and right hepatic ducts. They join to make common hepatic duct. Common hepatic duct joins who? Cystic duct. Cystic duct comes from where? Gallbladder, right? So common hepatic duct and cystic duct, they join together and make the next duct, which is called the common bile duct. So the bile goes from left and right hepatic ducts to common hepatic duct to common bile duct, and then it joins the pancreatic ducts and they open into the duodenum. That's the pathway, okay? When you have the lecture, it makes more sense. It becomes easier for you. And yeah, that's the end of the models. Any question? Any part of it that you want me to repeat? So again, 10 minutes, go over everything, all the models quickly. Make sure that you can find all of the structures on this one. Not the slide one, I will show you the slide one on the models. Make sure you can find them, and then I will start showing you the slides. After showing you the slides, we are done for today. That shows you the tongue. So the tongue is one of the accessory organs, and on the surface of the tongue, you will see that we have the structures that we call them papillae. Do you guys see that? See that parts which are coming out of the surface of the tongue? You see them like this one, this one, this one. These are called the papillae, okay? And inside them, you know them from Bio 141. And inside the papillae, do you see those round or ovalish structures here? These are the taste buds. So the taste buds are where you have the taste receptors. The receptors are here for the function of the tongue, which is a taste, right? So the papillae and the taste buds are the structures that you can see in this slide. You have beautiful pictures of the same slide on canvas. So when you get home or when you study for the digestive system, I highly recommend you. I saw those pictures. They are beautiful. They are very good pictures. So you can see them even better in those pictures. The next slide that is on the list to show you is the salivary glands. So I want to show you guys what you can see in the salivary glands, right? So in the salivary glands, we have the cells that make the mucus. Do you see those gray cells? Those are the mucus cells. They make the mucus. Do you see these ducts here? So there's a lumen in the center. These are the ducts of the salivary glands, okay? So what Dr. Raji wants you guys to see are the mucus cells and the ducts. Wherever you see the space, that's the lumen of a duct, which takes the saliva out of the salivary gland. Make sense? So whenever you want me to go slower, I'm trying to finish it because you guys are really tired. But whenever you want me to slow down, let me know. The next slide that is here is for the esophagus. So we look at the esophagus on the model, and you guys are familiar with this slide because we looked at it in Bio 141 for stratified squamous epithelium, remember? So this pinky part here on the top, this is the lumen. Just next to the lumen, this is a stratified squamous epithelium. So we talked about the mucosa, submucosa, remember? So I want to show you here that all the way from here to here is the mucosa, where you see the glands. These are called, do you see the glands? Let me go to 4x so it's easier to see. So do you see the mucosa all the way here? These glands are called the esophageal glands. So when you see those glands, this is submucosa. And then you come all the way down here. Do you see muscularis? All the way, the dark pink is muscularis. And this is the serosa, which is the outermost layer, right? So in the slide of the esophagus, you can see the stratified squamous epithelium in the mucosa, esophageal glands in submucosa, muscularis, and serosa. All right. Make sense? The next slide is very interesting because it shows you where the stomach attaches to the, esophagus attaches to the stomach. You will see how it changes. So this is the esophagus, right? Stratified squamous epithelium, right? And then look at here. Do you see how it changes to become stomach? Do you see the difference? So this is the stomach, right? From here, it becomes the stomach. In the stomach, it's very interesting. Let me show you. That's very similar to the model that I showed you, right? So these are gastric pits, you see? These are the gastric glands where you have the different types of the cells, right? This is the end of the mucosa. So this is mucosa. Where you see the fat tissue is the submucosa. And then you go all the way down. Muscularis. How many layers here? 3 layers. But I don't ask my students to know the layers, but I want them to know all the way here. Still muscularis, muscularis, you see? Until you get here. And then this is serous. Okay? So it shows you how the epithelial tissue of the esophagus, which is a stratified squamous, changes to simple columnar and becomes stomach. Okay? The other slide that we can see is the slide of the duodenum. The slide of the duodenum, what is duodenum, guys? The first part of the small intestine. The slide of the duodenum is very easy. Is it duodenum? I don't like it. Because it doesn't, I will show you the other one which shows the villi better. But look at those, the glands here in the submucosa. These are important. These are called the Brunner's gland inside the duodenum. And then you see mucosa, submucosa, muscularis, and serosa. But let me show you this slide. This is better. I took it from here. I want you guys to see what we call the villi. Do you see those finger-like structures, guys? These are called the villi or villi. These are for the absorption inside the small intestine. So each of them is called the villus. Villus, 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 villus. The plural form is the villi, right? So when you see that, you know that you're looking at the small intestine. In the small intestine, the villi are very large and very typical. Again, you see the mucosa, submucosa, muscularis, and serosa. So you can see that in all of those organs, you can see all the layers, right? Let me show you the ileum. Ileum is what? The last part of the small intestine. So what is important in ileum that I want you guys to see? Do you see those purplish patches? These are called these are actually the parts of the immunity system here, and we call them Peyer's patches. You will learn about them in the lecture. Peyer patches are the stations for the soldiers, the white blood cells. The soldiers are here waiting for the germs, right? You can see them only in the ileum. That's why that I show you the slide of the ileum to see the Peyer's patches. The Peyer's patches here are very important. I want to show you the slide of the colon or large intestine to show you something interesting about the large intestine. Guys, this is a large intestine. This is the colon. And you know that because, do you see all of those white cells in here? We call them goblet cells. Goblet cells are responsible to secrete mucus, right? Let me go to higher magnification to show you better. Do you see the goblet cells? So in any of those slides that you see a lot of the goblet cells like this, you always are looking at the large intestine. That's how I tell my students. My students are responsible to tell me what organ they are looking at. And the tip for the large intestine is that lots of the goblet cells are in there, right? That's the tip that helps them to identify it, right? Other than that, the rest is this like the other organs. So you have mucosa, submucosa, which is here, muscularis, 2 layers of it, and eventually you have the serosa. I'm losing my voice. Okay, so the last slide that I will show you is the slide of the liver. I won't show you the slide of the pancreas, is on the list, but the slides that we have for the pancreas are very low quality. So look at the pictures that you have. They are much better than the slides that we have in here. This is liver. So if you open up, I showed you the external anatomy of the liver, but if you make a section of the liver and put it on the slide, that's what you see. The liver consists of the smaller sections that we call them lobules. So this is one lobule, lobule, lobule. In the center of each lobule, you can see the central vein. This is called the central vein. And at each corner, you can see the structure which is called triad. Dr. Roger will tell you about the triad. Triad is a structure there that consists of 3 structures together. Hepatic artery, hepatic portal vein, and bile duct. It's very hard. I don't ask my students to identify them, but I want them to know that triad are here. At the corner of each lobules, you can see the triad. So for the liver, what she wants to ask you is, let me double check. Just lobule, central vein, and triad. That's it. I ask more, but that's what she wants to ask you. Lobule, central vein, the triads are at this corner. So you can see 3 lumens, right? Those are the triads.